Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's the Sketch Monkey here, and today is Sunday and I thought we're going to do some analog sketching today. I'm gonna show you exactly how you, yes, you right there, can sketch a car in any perspective you want using just 3 lines. This is something that I get asked about daily on Instagram, and I really appreciate all the questions. But this one seems to come up a lot, and that is of course how to sketch cars, which is pretty obvious because that's kind of the same thing that I wanted to learn before and I still want to learn. So I'm gonna make a video, and the point of this video is that you have a pen and paper available. I'm just gonna use this print paper. Here are the tools for this video. I'm gonna use print paper, 1 pen. Doesn't have to be a big round stick, it can be any pen you have available, or even pencil. 1 marker. You don't need this. I just like to add some shading at the end of the sketch to add some depth to the sketches. This is an alcohol-based marker, and it is a cool gray 3. Last but not least, you're going to need coffee. So what we're gonna do, first of all, have this available. Start with a pen and paper. That's all you need for this video. We're going to create, first of all, a side view, then a 3/4 front view, and then lastly a 3/4 rear view, using just 3 lines. And once you get these 3 lines down, you're going to be all set sketching whatever type of car, SUV, truck, sedan, sports car, whatever. You can sketch anything with these 3 lines. So let's get started here. And this is going to be real time. I'm not going to speed anything up, although these sketches are going to be quick, because I'm just gonna cover the basics for you to get started with this. The whole point of the Sketch Monkey is to get people to sketch and enjoy sketching, specifically car design. All right, 3 key lines. We have the baseline. This is going to be a side view. We have 1 line going like that. Let's put a 1 right there. And then we need a shoulder line. It's going to be something like that. And then of course we're going to need a roof, or a not a ceiling, a roof. Let's just stick with a roof. And that line, so we have the distance here. Now, in car design, in modern car design, I've said this before, but when I was studying a master's in car design, we had designers from Audi come in, and they brought this book. It was a pretty thick book about how to design, the rules for designing an Audi. And one of these rules was that the distance from the baseline to the shoulder line, which is where the bottom part of the windows, that should be 2/3 of the total height of the car. And then we have the 3rd line, which is the roof line. That should be, as you can see, 1/3 of the height of the car. So these 3 lines are all the lines we need to start to get the proportions down. Then of course we're going to talk about wheelbase, and the wheelbase decides what type of vehicle you're sketching. Are you doing in a hatchback, smaller wheelbase, shorter wheelbase? Are you doing a long SUV, luxury SUV, or a sedan, which means a longer wheelbase? In this case we're going to do a 2-door. So the wheelbase for this is going to be like this, something like this. We have the front wheel right there. So we want 3.5 wheels in between these. And I think I can eyeball it. I would say it's somewhere around here. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. 3 and a 1/3. That's fine. So that's the wheelbase. And the wheelbase is really important to get the proportions right and not make it look like a cartoon car or something like that. So you can see here now that we have the shoulder line, we have the wheelbase, should be something lower around there. And then we have the shoulder line up here, and we have the roof line up here. So we have everything we need to work with now. So what we want to do now is just connect these lines, start to design it and make some curvatures to it. But we're making all of this while keeping these 3 lines as a guide or a template where we want to position these lines, if that makes sense. So let's continue here and create this rear as well. So I want to have some beefy fenders, something like this. And since we lowered all the lines here, I'm gonna lower the roof line as well, somewhere around here. So now we want to start the A-pillar, depending if we have a front engine car or a mid or rear engine car. Depends on where the A-pillar is going to start. This case, we're going to keep it very simple. I want to keep it basics for you guys so you can get the fundamentals of this right. We're just going to keep a front engine. So we have the engine up here. Means that the A-pillar needs to start behind this engine, and that's somewhere around here, right? And the angle of this depends on how you want your car designed. And then we're just gonna dip this down to create a C-pillar and to create a roof. And this is the roof line right here, so we don't want to go higher than that. Because if we have a too high of a roof line, it's going to make the dynamics of the car, it's going to make the car look very top heavy. Like the Fiat Multipla, for example. That's a prime example of 50-50 ratio between this. If you look at the Multipla in a side view, it looks very top heavy, although you have good visibility out of it, I guess. So now we have all the proportions down here. Now we just need to focus on the end point of the car. So I just like to put the end points out like this, just visualize it for myself where the car end starts and stops. And then we need to figure out how we're going to connect all of these lines that we have down on the paper now. And that's, I would say that's the easy part, because we have done all the hard parts now, and we can start to define the endpoints and the actual design of this car. So right here we have a perfectly basic sports car. And what we want to do now is just to go in and start to add the graphic design to this and all the design features, and the windows, the doors, and all of that. And once we've done that, we're pretty much done with this first side view here. One thing I like to do as well is to keep the perspective, even though we have a side view. I want to have some depth to it, and I do that by adding so under the car you can see the far side wheels sticking out right here. Same thing with the window. So if we add a window line, and the window is pretty much just going to follow the roof line, and you decide the thickness of the different pillars, the thickness of the C pillar and the A pillar, but generally it follows a similar shape to the roof line. One other thing to add perspective to this is to show the curvature of the windscreen. You do that, since the windscreen is curved, that means that you're going to see some of it if you're looking at it from side view, because it's curving. It's curving towards the viewer. And if it's a curvature, we're going to see some part of it right there. And I also like to add the interior to the sketch. And by that I mean just make if you take this window line right here and you just shrink it down, because that's going to show the A pillar on the far side through the glass, and it's going to show the roof and also the C pillar through the glass, because the glass is obviously transparent. From here, I would say we are finished with our side view using just 3 lines. So keep those lines in mind, and keep this ratio here in mind as well. So what you want to think about is first line, second line, third line. That's the first rule. Second rule is the distance between the wheels. So the wheelbase, depending on again what type of car you're sketching. There are different rules for different types of cars, but usually it's about 3.5 wheels in between the axles. Once you have this done, you can start to design the car to get it to where you want to be. If you want to make maybe an estate or a wagon or something like that, you just extend this roof line to make it into a wagon. And of course, all of this takes a lot of practice to get good at, but once you've done it for, I have to say, a few years, it's not going to be a week or 2. If you do this for years, you're going to understand it better, and this is all going to come naturally, so you don't have to put these rules out. And then we also want to put the center of the wheels out like that. And from here we can start to design this car, add the doors, something like this. and so on. I'm gonna go back to this later on and add some line weight and stuff to this, but I'm gonna speed that part up. All right, so let's do a perspective view next. I might just do both here. Let's see how long this will take. First thing, baseline, same thing there. What I like to do though when I sketch in perspective is to always put the wheels out on the baseline first and put some spokes in here just to get myself another reference point. And then what I like to do next is to add the end point of where this car is going to end. I'm going to make this into a 3/4 rear view. So what I do now is to, if you're following along now, if you have this down, what you want to do next, we're going to make a 2-door sports car. Add the front fender, so you want to have a line going up from the front wheel like that. Same thing in the rear, you can add that, something like this. And then have it dip down towards the top part of the rear wheel. From here, take the, so if we have this distance here, take the center, the middle point of this line. That's kind of where you want to start the A-pillar to come up. And you can sketch this very loosely. If you want to use a pencil, it's even easier because you can erase. I just don't like to use pencils. I prefer pens. It's all up to you. And then we just create a dip in the back here. You have your end point here, so you have that as a reference, and you want to dip this down right before the end point. And then have it go up just a little bit at the end there. This is actually easier the faster I do it. If I slow it down like this, the lines don't get as clean as if I do it fast, but that's fine. From here, we want to add a ducktail. I just like to integrate ducktails, something like this, and this is in the same height as the shoulder line here on the fender. So we have this height right here, this being all the same. And from here we have the basic proportions down of the car. So we pretty much, this is not 3 lines. You can do it in 3 lines if you want to. You can put out the baseline first. But I like to put out the wheels in perspective because that gives me the idea of what type of perspective I want to sketch this car in. I hope that makes sense. And same thing here, want to just mirror this line right here to create the window line of this car. Something like this. And we can create a center line just to guide ourselves. Integrated ducktail, love those, so I'm gonna put that in here. Maybe add some bumper to this. This is still the center line of the car. And from here we can start to add whatever details and designs we want for this car. Let's make it into round. Some round rear lights, tail lights like this. We can add like a logo in the center. Classic design. I've sketched this car so many times in my life that I can probably sketch it in my sleep. But just for the sake of this tutorial, I know there's a lot of new people on here since the last time I made a tutorial like this. So I just wanted to refresh myself and refresh you guys. So you can start doing this yourself if that's something that you want to do. And I'm always using, so for example, to create this diffuser down here, I'm using the taillights as a guide to where I want the diffuser to stop and to start. So the more features and the more key lines you put out on the sketch, the more guides you have, and the easier it gets to get the proportions right, if that makes sense. Because if you're just sketching on a blank piece of paper, it's really hard to figure out where things are supposed to go in relation to each other. But if you have the basic proportions down already, and you want to put those down as fast as possible, then everything becomes a lot easier because you have so much more references to take information from of where things are supposed to go. So let's just quickly make this into a front view as well. So it's pretty much the same thing. I'm gonna put out the wheels right here. Something like this. Add some wheels to this, spokes. There we go. Difference here though is that since the A-pillar starts here, I want to start the rear of the car needs to start back here somewhere. So I just want to make a shorter distance, this line right here needs to be shorter because the coupe of the car, the C-pillar, which starts obviously further back. It doesn't have a hood in the rear, it has a trunk, so it's a lot shorter distance. First of all, let's put out the end point right there. I'll just start to sketch this thing. And then do the same thing with the front fender, just add that. The end point of this obviously will move sometimes. If you feel like you need more space, just move the end point of the sketch. And then create the baseline in the front as well, something like this. This looks more like a mid-engine car now, so I want to move the A-pillar on both sides, make it shorter. Then just put out the side mirrors if you want to do that. It's just a detail that you can add, but it's generally the same type of designs or lines that you're using for the front view as you do for the 3/4 rear view in perspective. You just move around the A and C pillar and you have a front view instead of a rear view, depending on how you look at it. From here we can just add some small details such as bumpers and design those. Maybe add some lights to this. Center line like this. Lights, let's see what we can do about that. Let's do something like this maybe. And let's create some air intake in the front. Very basic stuff. And we can start to add some details if we want to do that, such as the design of the spokes and line weight and more details into whatever it is we want to design on this car. It's all up to you. That's the fun part. Once you have the proportions and the perspective down, all you got to do is just jump into the details and actually start to design this car. And obviously, if you're just using a pen for this, I might just use the pen and add some markers later on. But if you only have a pen to work with, keep in mind to add, don't forget to add the line weight to the lines and the surfaces that are facing away from the light source. That will give you some depth to the sketch, even if you can't use, or if you don't have markers, you still want to have some depth and contrast in your sketches. And you do that by adding more line weight to your sketches. That's what I'm doing right here. And we can go around and do that on all these sketches now, but that's the general idea of how to sketch a car as quickly as possible. And to me, this is the easiest way to sketch cars, is to just focus on key lines and focus on proportions before you jump into any crazy details and start to design the car. You want to get all of this fundamental information down, and once you're done with that, you can then go in and start to design your car. I'm going to add some details to this, maybe add some few marker strokes to it just to make it pop a little bit more. But that's really all for this video that I wanted to show you today. I hope you enjoyed this just as much as I enjoyed making this. It was a while ago, so I'm kinda rusty sketching with pen and paper. I need to get back into this. And I hope you try this yourself and let me know how it goes in the comments below. And if there's anything specific that you want to learn when it comes to sketching, just let me know. I'll make a video on that as well. Thank you so much for watching and spending a few minutes with me today. I'm the Sketch Monkey. I hope to see you in the next one. Take it easy. Do you want to learn how to sketch cars and products? Check out my online courses in the description below, where you'll learn everything from the basic tools to use, analog sketching with pen, paper and markers, digital sketching using Photoshop and a tablet. You also get downloadable resources and templates and so much more. For those of you who aspire to one day work as a designer, I'll even walk you through each page and structure of my 2 portfolios that got me into a master's degree in car design in Italy and got me my first job as an industrial designer right here in Florida. All courses are 100% online, which means that you can access the courses at any time from anywhere. Click the link below in the description to learn more. I'll see you on the inside.